So I want to thank you for the opportunity to present to the committee today this bill on grooming. It was brought to me by constituents, the Boone County Sheriff's Office, the Commonwealth Attorney, and our county attorney. This has become an increasing problem. What this bill seeks to do is define what a groomer is. There currently is no statute that defines grooming or has any criminalization. So we're looking to do that. Basically what it is defining what a groomer is. It's an adult in a position of authority or special trust that engages in behaviors with a minor to prepare them for future sexual conduct. For further explanation of the bill and to answer some of the questions you may have, I'm going to defer to Lewis Kelly.
Thank you, Representative Proctor, Mr. Chairman, and committee members. The need for this bill, I go back and I reference something the General Assembly did back in 2019 when I first became Commonwealth's attorney. They enacted a strangulation law. And what was interesting about that is if you prosecute rape cases, you will find that the overwhelming majority of them, the history of that relationship, months or years before, there was a strangulation incident. There's not really a lot we could do in terms of prosecuting those people, because at the time the most we could prosecute was an assault in the 4th degree, which was a Class A misdemeanor. And it really didn't have an impact on stopping the escalation of the violence. Since 2019, you passed it. Now that's a Class C felony for strangulation in the 1st degree, and it's a Class D felony for strangulation in the 2nd degree. I can tell you since that law went into effect, my office has prosecuted just in the 54th probably close to 100 strangulation cases. And that number probably goes closer to 1,000 if you go across the Commonwealth, which is to say I am fairly certain that because we had this new and stricter law to catch this intervening act, I believe we've prevented rapes from occurring in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Likewise, here in the Commonwealth, we have laws that can penalize and we can prosecute people who do engage, adults who engage in sexual acts with minors. We can do it if they go and explicitly illicit sex with minors. We can do that. But what we see in all of those cases is there is a long and protracted pattern of highly inappropriate and very suggestive behavior. And in fact, I think Representative Proctor was sponsored by this because we had such an incident in Boone County at a middle school that my daughter attended. But there was a big gap. There wasn't something there to enforce that. So what this would do would be to allow us to identify and to prosecute and stop this in its tracks before it crosses the line into actually enticing or eliciting sex or, God forbid, an actual sexual conduct. I'm sure there'll be questions about, you know, things that are innocent and how do you tell. This bill does address that. We have specific carve-outs for people that might have to have communication with young people. We also have included an intent provision that that was spoke about in some of these other bills. It's clear we're going to have to prove that this was not some innocent or good faith discussion. I can tell you, at least in my law enforcement in my jurisdiction and my office, we have no desire to prosecute people who are otherwise engaging in innocent, even if misguided. What we want, and in this case that prompted this, there was clear there was no innocent reason why this person was engaging in these discussions, but he never crossed the line. Not yet. They were fortunate enough to find it and stop it, and he's no longer teaching. But he really faced no real criminal penalties for this. So that's why we're doing it. So that's why I would respectfully request, when this bill is filed in the session, that this bill be heard in both the House and Senate Judiciary Committees and be reported favorably. Thank you. And we'd be happy to answer any questions.